you are asking the Republicans to do right now when they control the White House, the Senate, and the House is effectively what the Democrats could not do when they controlled all three of those heads of government themselves. The 10-year setup for this, for these, or the 3-year setup for the expiration of these credits was intentionally put in. It was put in when you controlled the White House, the House, and the Senate. You couldn't get it passed for longer. And so this is a setup that kind of your own creation that you all couldn't extend beyond that. Now you want the Republicans to do something you didn't do when you were in power?
It's not a setup beyond what we could do. We extended the Affordable Care Act tax credits in 2022 for 3 years. The program is working. It's providing health care to tens of millions of people in an affordable way, and it should be continued. It's interesting to us that Republicans decided that they would prefer to permanently extend massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors in their one big ugly bill, which also at the same time dramatically increased the debt and enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, but refused to consider extending Affordable Care Act tax credits that actually benefit working class Americans, everyday Americans, and middle class Americans. Their priorities are misplaced.
You kind of conflated a spending bill with a clean CR. It's only 24 pages. It keeps the government open at this point, and the House passed it. It's ready to go. The Senate has it. I know that the Republicans control everything, but you know how the filibuster works, and God forbid Republicans, fold on the filibuster, because it'll be used, both parties will use it against the other. It's one of the last safeguards that makes the Senate different than the House. And the only reason the Senate can't do it is purely because of Democrats. And you had one of your colleagues in the Senate say, this is the only leverage we have. People are going to get hurt. This is the only leverage we have to get what we want on health care. That's a bad look.
Yeah, this is not about leverage. And by the way, if the votes of Democratic senators are required, then of course there should be a bipartisan discussion about enacting a spending bill that is designed to actually make life better for the American people, lower the high cost of living in an environment where Donald Trump and Republicans promised that costs were going to go down on day one. Costs aren't going down. Inflation is moving in the wrong direction. The Trump tariffs are causing thousands of dollars of additional expense on everyday Americans. Grocery costs have gone up. Housing costs are going up. Electricity bills are through the roof. And now tens of millions of people are facing dramatically increased health care premiums. In some instances, $1,000 or $2,000 more per month. These are working class people. This is unaffordable. And of course, it's a crisis that is before us right now.
But what changed from when the Democrats said we will not negotiate when the government is shut down on health care? Not now, reopen the government, then we'll negotiate. That happened in 2013. What happened, what changed since then to where we are now, where you can use a government shutdown to extract concessions from Republicans?
We are not using a government shutdown to extract any concessions. We want to reopen the government immediately. Donald Trump has refused to meet with Democrats over the last 24 days. He spent more time on the golf course than he has actually talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill. He's found time to demand that the Department of Injustice give him $230 million in taxpayer money. He's found time to bail out a right-wing wannabe dictator in Argentina with $40 billion. He's found time to demolish the East Wing of the White House in the most horrific way possible because he wants to erect a ballroom so he can be celebrated like a king. He's found time for all of these different things, but somehow can't be bothered to reopen the government or can't be bothered to find a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Okay, let's talk about some of these issues. You bring up inflation, and you're right to do so. We just got the CPI. It was not quite as hot as had been anticipated, but inflation is higher than the Fed's target range or than anybody feels comfortable with. The problem is inflation is often caused by government spending. Additional government spending is not likely to get it to the point where we are going to see less inflation out there. How do you handle that?
This is not additional government spending.
It is additional government spending. You're looking for another $350 billion of additional government spending over the next 10 years?
We're actually extending a tax credit that currently exists. And what's interesting is that in then one big ugly bill where Republicans raised the debt ceiling by about over $4 trillion, exploded the deficit and the debt, but then they used a policy framework called current policy baseline, which is to say that if you just extend current policy, it has no fiscal impact. So the question is, why are Republicans willing to use that approach?
Numbers in the government.
So the question is, why are Republicans willing to use that approach when it comes to massive tax breaks?
Like I said, I'm not a big fan with how any of the government, I'm not a big fan of how any elected officials tend to use figures to tell us what we want to hear with some of these things. Additional government spending, though, is going to mean worse numbers when it comes to inflation.